नमस्कार, न्यूज़ लॉन्ड्री में आपका स्वागत है। टुडे वी आर प्रेजेंटिंग another Tippani, this time by me, Abhinandan Sekhri, on an issue that is closest to our hearts, freedom of speech and expression. Recently, in the last week or so, 3 cases have come up which we are being asked to react to. And by we, I mean News Laundry as a body and me personally also, because I'm told you are this holier than thou, upholder of freedom of speech and shit like that. So, ab kya hua hai, why aren't you commenting on Madhu Kishwar or on the other cases? So, I would just like to use this opportunity to clarify what is freedom of speech, what is an assault on freedom of speech, and what is just shitty talk. So first, let's clarify what our constitution says, because I'm also going to comment on what is legal and what in my view should be legal. So Article 19 bracket 1 bracket A of the Indian Constitution says that all citizens have the freedom of speech and expression, but it's not absolute. There are restrictions. Section 153A of the Indian Penal Code says, whoever A, by words either spoken or written or by signs or by visible representations or otherwise, promotes or attempts to promote on grounds of religion, race, place of birth, residence, language, caste or community or any other ground whatsoever, disharmony or feeling of enmity, hatred or ill will between different religious, racial, language or religious groups or castes or communities, or commits any act which is prejudicial to the maintenance of harmony between different religious, racial, language or regional groups or castes or communities, and which disturbs or is likely to disturb the public tranquility, shall be punished with imprisonment which may extend to 3 years or fine or with both. In my view, this is seriously problematic, but the 3 cases we'll come to later are one of Suresh Chavanke, the loony man who runs a channel called Sudarshan, who also has a case against him, Madhu Kishwar, and the third case of this guy in UAE being deported for being abusive to Rana Ayub on his Facebook post. These are 3 very different, with different issues, not all relating to freedom of speech, but I'll come to that later. Now, if you go by this law, basically prejudicial to the maintenance of harmony between different religious, racial or language groups also. Then by this law, our parliamentarians who are proposing that Hindi be stuffed down the throats of our Tamil brethren can also be put into jail for 3 years. By this, if I make a joke on Punjabi or on Bengalis or on Kashmiri, or if I say, Japanese is a language, oh, asho, which is not a very politically correct joke, but it could be against the law. So this is shitty law, okay? So this law inhibits freedom of speech. Then later, 295A of the Indian Penal Code IPC also says, whoever with deliberate and malicious intention of outraging the religious feeling of any class of citizen by words either spoken or written or by signs or by visible representations or otherwise insults or attempts to insult the religion or the religious beliefs of that class shall be punished with imprisonment. So if you attempt the religion or beliefs of that class, by that logic, our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, do you remember that speech of his, Hum Panch Hamare 25? It was a barb at the Islamic tradition or the allowance of having one man having 4 wives. So by this logic, he should also be in jail. If I make a joke about a Sardar, I should be in jail. Again, shitty law. Why are these laws not removed? Because the government, whenever they want, they can put someone in, because we all make jokes every day and say things that may offend someone, because sensibilities are crappy things and someone will always be offended. Coming to the 3 cases we have just heard about. Mr. Suresh Chavanke's case. He runs a really bad channel called Sudarshan, and he has a show called Halla Bol. Like that, he said, Halla Bol, Halla Bol. He's this portly man with not even the slightest hint of a sinew. There's pulpy fat all over, but he has this, I'm such a dude kind of look. But it's cute in a Bonda type way. However, basically he ran these really stupid shows saying that Jama Masjid ka jhoot and Hari Mandir ka sach, that in Sambal there's this masjid which should actually be a temple. Now loonies like him have always existed and will always exist. In my view, what he has done is distasteful, but he has been hauled up under an FIR under section IPC, including those dealing with promoting enmity between different groups on grounds of religion, race. So in my view, I think it is an assault on his freedom of speech, because being a dick is a crappy thing to do, but it's not against the law. It's like if you dig your nose and shake someone's hand, or you fart in a lift, you're a real A-class jackass jerk, but it's legal. So Chavanke is like the dude who digs his nose and shakes your hand. you know, you don't want to deal with him, and if the wind was blowing that way and he was standing there, you might spit that accidentally go land on his face, but you don't want him in jail because that could inhibit freedom of speech generally. In case of Madhu Kishwar, this is not a case of freedom of speech. There is another law which has nothing to do with freedom of speech. It has to do with defamation, and this is what the law says. Whoever by words either spoken or intended to be read, or by signs or by physical representation, makes or publishes any imputation concerning any person intending to harm, or knowing or having reason to believe that such imputation will harm the reputation of a person, is said, except in cases hereinafter expected, to defame that person. This is similar to what Mr. Kejriwal has been hauled up to court for. Now, I find it fascinating that many of these right-wing websites and senior journalists, and I call them right-wing loons, but they don't like it, they will protect, or they will stand up for Mr. Jaitley's right to haul up Arvind Kejriwal for making a statement involving corruption which he can't prove. And I think Mr. Jaitley should do that. But they will say Shujat Bukhari shouldn't do that. This is what Madhu Kishwar tweeted. Shujat Bukhari got money from PDP plus Indian agencies for Rising Kashmir, brother PDP minister, but spits venom at India. Now, can she prove that he got money from PDP or Indian agencies for Rising Kashmir? Now, you know, people can say, bhai, tumne isse paise liye, tumne usse paise khaye. Unless you can prove it, shut up. Okay? And if someone comes after you, it is not an assault on your freedom of speech. It is for defamation. It is not an assault on your freedom of speech. However, I do think criminal charges for defamation is problematic. They should be civil. But if you are, you know, standing up for, you know, Mr. Jaitley's, I don't know how you can't stand up for Mr. Bukhari's. So defamation is not an attack on freedom of speech. But yes, sending someone to prison is problematic. Now the case of Rana Ayub. Rana Ayub was abused by this loony man in the UAE, and he said something really filthy to her. Now, you know, I run an organization, News Laundry. It's my prerogative. If someone on their social media is posting stuff like, "Hey whore, can I come and fuck you?" I don't want that dude working here. Yeah. So I can fire him. It is not an assault on freedom of speech. He can go do that at home. He can get employment elsewhere. Mr. Chavanke can hire him and appreciate these kind of posts. His freedom of speech has not been assaulted, fuckwits. He has just been asked to leave because he's a dick. And some organizations appreciate dicks, some don't. So find one that appreciates dicks and be a dick, or don't be a dick in one that doesn't. It is not an assault on that dude's freedom of speech. And if the UAE has deported him, well, that's their prerogative. I don't think India should be like UAE, or we should be like Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, although many of you bhakts do think so. So think about it. Next time we talk about freedom of speech, please separate what is assault on freedom of speech, what is a social ostracization of someone who is basically a jerk or a dick, and third, someone who is being tried for defamation. Clear? So in the end, I will make 2 points separating something. One, something that is illegal, which is if someone defames, then you take the person to court, or if someone, oh sorry, I forgot this. In 2012, Jagdish Titler, that time UPA was in power, in Orissa, had made a speech where he stood on the pedestal and said, "Maro, jalao, tod do, tod do, tod do." So he asked a crowd to burn stuff and break stuff, and that crowd beat up this woman really badly. I don't know if you remember, there was this video of this woman police officer having been beaten up by the mob. Of course, nothing happened to Mr. Titler because UPA was in power, just like nothing will happen to any of these BJP dudes who insult religious sentiments. Although I don't think they should be tried for that. But what I'm saying is it's very selective how you apply it. And why this law remains vague is so that whoever is in power can come after those who they don't like, and can not go after the ones that they like. So in closing, I will say, if someone says you're a jerk for saying something, he or she is not assaulting your freedom of speech. He is just saying you're a jerk, which you very well may be. But if the state comes after you for saying something, that is an assault on freedom of speech. So please separate the two, learn a bit about it before you go out and either claim to propound freedom of speech or want to inhibit it and make us like Pakistan or Saudi Arabia. That's the very long Tippani for the day. Goodbye, good luck, and Mr. Chavanke,